Hello, School Transportation Nation. Tony Corpin here with School Transportation News. Glad you made it to the podcast. Brought to you by TransFinder, the leader in school bus routing software. Have my excellent co-host here, Mr. Ryan Gray. Ryan, welcome.
Hello, everybody. Good to be back. We're returned from Indianapolis and the STN EXPO East that we had out there a couple of weeks ago. Good times had. It was great getting back to Indiana at the normal time, Tony, of June, early June. So the weather was nice. Had an interesting PopCon convention that was going on next door to us at the Indiana Convention Center. Saw Tom Arnold. He was staying in our hotel.
I saw Johnny Depp walk by in his full pirate outfit. I think that's right. He was okay for to come out after he won his case. But I think it's always funny to see all the popular culture characters and see that. You get a menagerie of people at the convention center, the Indiana Convention Center, where we hosted all.
Oh, yeah. Saw some great costumes. So that kept things light and fun. But it was a great time, Tony.
Yeah, I agree, Ryan. Great to see everybody in the community, all the school transportation folks. We had people from all over Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, Indiana. Thanks again to our friends at STAI, the Indiana Association, for helping participate at the show. We appreciate their members being there, and we'll want to grow from here. You know, I see there's a lot of opportunity. People are still kind of acclimating, I think, from getting back into the swing of conferences, but we had a pretty good showing. I was overall really pleased. Everyone always asks, hey, what did you think? And people were just raving about the content, Ryan. So kudos to you and your team for putting together some outstanding education this year. And the keynotes, man, they impressed. We had Sam Richter, who is a specialist in digital security. I mean, it's kind of like scary at the same time when he pulls up my personal profile with my kids and is like, hey, look, Tony's kids, when's their birthdays? Kind of just puts into light, like, what is your social presence and what you put out there and what people can see. And maybe the people that you care about see it, but there are people that are not nice people that can check out that information too. So really kind of provided us with some valuable information, Ryan, to talk about kind of the importance of digital security.
Yeah, well, digital reputation management is what it is. Not so much security, but security in the sense of, being secure out there with your social presence. And you hit it on the nail there. The Transportation Director Summit on June 4th, he really took the attendees in depth with some tools that he's developed. So he's gone through and he's written his own search engines based upon Google and some others and he provided those tools to the attendees to help them do their jobs better. You can find out, of course, how much transportation directors maybe in the neighboring town are making because of public records. You can see what your superintendent's making. You mentioned you can, for the salespeople out there, they can find out email addresses. It was really illuminating some of the tools that he had to share. But yeah, it can be a little bit scary, but I think, again, it's an opportunity to see how you can make these tools work for yourself and for your team. It's a new landscape out there. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, certainly, we didn't have any of this social media. And if we did, it was in its infancy and, a lot of folks weren't using it, especially for business. But that's really switched over the last several years, especially during COVID, where people are utilizing social media and social channels to interact with each other. So certainly there's a way that transportation can make these tools work for themselves. So that was really interesting. And you all can check out that article if you head over to stnonline.com and check out all the content that we had from the conference out there. Another keynote, of course, never disappoints. Jason Hewlett, Tony, a showstopper. He really turned out the lights there. I was kidding him. I actually helped him do that. Back of the room, my backpack hit the lights and it dimmed the lights in the room, and I thought it was part of his show. And I was like, oh, he changed something up. What's he going to do? And then I realized, So aside from me, I didn't screw anything up. He rolled with it. Everyone got a good laugh, so that was cool.
Dramatic effect, Ryan. Dramatic effect. I think that's what we're all about it.
I was like, wow, he's going to do something. But it was just my backpack, so blame me. But certainly he delivered on his promise And that was to share his entertainment value and his talents, but really ties it into the bigger message. So again, you can check out that article over on stnonline.com. Tony, one of the things that stood out to me was on the final day after the trade show, we had a session, very timely session on inflationary pressures and supply chain. That was a great discussion. Steve Tam, who's the vice president of ACT Research Company, they're in Columbus, Indiana, which is about a couple hours south of Indianapolis. They're one of the leading market analysis and research firms looking at the truck industry. And certainly school bus is a segment of that. So I've known Steve for years, and we trade some data and some thoughts back and forth, especially when I'm putting together the buyer's guide each fall. But certainly, that has a lot of student transporters kind of squirming in their seats right now. Fuel costs just going through the roof.
Oh, Ryan, I got to jump in on the fuel cost thing. Transportation Director Summit, I was hearing people tell me that they were spending $500,000 a month more on fuel. And these $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $6 million expenditure that was unexpected. You just don't have that in the school transportation piggy bank, right? They're having to go to the general fund and tap in. These are really unexpected. And I mean, I say, fuel prices go up like a rocket. They're going to come down like a feather, very slow. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I thought we were going to have a little bit of reprieve on fuel, but I feel like, man, it's only getting worse. Are you feeling that too?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everybody's, pocketbooks are shrinking. I saw a news article the other day that, this is at the pump price, which certainly school bus is not paying, but the highest ever gas price, per gallon gas price, was recorded last week in Mendocino, California, up Northern California, $9.50 a gallon. Crazy. And during that inflationary pressures session on that Tuesday, the 7th of June, Kane Smith, director of transportation for Cypher ISD in Texas and the reigning transportation director of the year, awarded last fall by School Transportation News. He was one of the panelists on Steve's session, and he was talking about how he went through his entire fuel budget back at the end of February because of the fuel prices. And they've only, Tony, since then, we've seen them double, triple. So, it's just been insane what folks are spending. So, that session talked about that. It talked about certainly the supply chain. We heard a lot of conversations, too, at the trade show that was right before that session, Tony, and then they talked about it during the session about the lag in receiving school bus orders. We have an article out in our June issue that talks about that as well. But I mean, I know one OEM I had heard said that if you had bought a school bus today, you were not going to receive it till fall of 2023. So it feels like, we had the driver shortage. We had COVID before that. It couldn't get any worse. Certainly costs are just going bonkers right now. We're seeing it here with what we do, printing the magazine, paper, delivery cost, ink, travel for our staff and for speakers to the conference. Everything has been affected by this. So it'll really be interesting to see. The Fed last week, they raised interest rates for the third time this year, all trying to tamp down inflation. It hasn't worked so far. They raised it the largest in like 3 decades, 0.75%. So time will tell. It's going to take several months, I think, before we see how that plays out. But it was interesting. One attendee told me last week that he's actually hoping for a recession because he can then hire school bus drivers again.
Yeah, that's funny. I think at the end of the day, Ryan, there's a lot of economic headwinds, right? And we're seeing it, we're feeling it. And school transportation, buses prices are going up. Bluebird announced a 10% across the board price increase. I've seen surcharges on existing bus orders because the OEMs just cannot carry all of that cost burden on raw materials. So, we can't live in the past, right? I mean, everybody's got to realize, look, just the cost of doing business is going up. We know home prices have shot up at record speed. And also, guess what? That means also people that are being reassessed with tax dollars. Now the states are a little more flush with cash because we've seen state budgets have these unexpected increases in dollars, and that's because of gas taxes, home price taxes, and some of that state funding is going to matriculate back down to school transportation. I know in California, we saw a few social media posts that Gavin Newsom was, posturing to talk about school transportation and school bus electrification and kind of California's commitment to investing in that and using some of that budget surplus. We'll see what the official number looks like. But, I've heard from a few insiders that it's going to be in the billions to help supplement the clean school bus laws that are coming from the Fed. So it'll be very interesting to see. And I know we had a really fabulous discussion about school bus electrification. And I think with the price of fuel, we're seeing an inflection point in the market around alternative energy. We saw a discussion on propane, a great conversation on that too. And I think that this escalation in fuel prices is going to only accelerate people's interest in alternative fuels because the cost of those fuels are so much lower. I was on a webinar last week with Tim Shannon and the guys at Highland Electric Fleets, and Tim basically said they were saving a boatload of money going to electric at $3 a gallon diesel. He's like, well, what about at $6? He's like, it's like a truckload of money. So these are the things. And Tim Shannon, they called him the godfather of alternative energy, right? The guy's tried everything. He's been in electrification for probably 10 years and really talked a lot about the advantages. But there was a lot of hardship to try to get over that hump in terms of all the challenges of infrastructure and trying to figure out what's the right charger and who are the right partners. How do you make it happen? And then, how do you leverage grant funding to do that? So there's just a lot there to kind of unpack with the discussion around this, but I really feel like electrification is only going to accelerate, and we've seen a lot of happenings, right? I think we saw last week as well on Capitol Hill, a lot of the major school bus OEMs were displaying their alternative energy technologies, EV specific, to legislators to kind of put a bright light on school transportation and the benefits of the federal government investing all this money in going green and how school buses are a great choice of fuel type to kind of target. And I think the more we advocate at these high levels for our industry, it's only a good thing. We never did this before. I feel like it's just really elevated our presence in the media and in politics. And I'm very excited to see what the future holds for clean school transportation and greener energy in our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great segue to, what we're doing just in a couple weeks here. We're heading to Reno, STN EXPO Reno, plus the Green Bus Summit. We're going to have a lot of discussions about that. I mean, we have a dedicated day essentially on July 17th, Tony, that's going to be talking about electric as well as alternative fuels. We have, vehicle OEMs, charging companies, contractors talking about their, path towards zero emission. And then, of course, we have several other sessions throughout the regular conference that are going to be talking about this. If you all caught it last week, we made an announcement. We have a very special guest who was confirmed by the EPA who's going to be coming out to Reno. We were trying for Administrator Regan. Unfortunately, he can't come, but he is sending his Deputy Assistant Administrator, Alejandra Ale Nunez. So she's going to be coming out and she's going to be leading off the July 19th general session on the Clean School Bus Program. That's going to be moderated by Michael Laughlin from the U.S. Department of Energy. They're serving as a consultant to EPA on that. And we're going to have propane, electric, CNG, as well as another EPA representative from Region 9 out here on the West Coast, Esperanza Perez, who are going to be going through and talking about the Clean School Bus Program. Of course, we have the rebate going on right now. Prime time to have these discussions. We're going to be about a month out from the deadline for that first year rebate. So really looking forward to having Ale Nunez out You can learn more about her on our STN Expo website. That's stnexpo.com/west. And if you head over to the speaker section, you can read all about her as well. But yeah, we have other sessions planned, Tony. One of them that, I think I'm really excited to see is project management of electrification and infrastructure. So we have the team that's working on the Modesto City Schools electrification project out in Central California. A lot of people might know Gil Rosas, who spoke for us back in December. He was at Stockton Unified. He really helped lead the electrification project over there and was able to do it in an unheard of amount of time, about 11 and a half months. From, basically breaking ground, construction, and then having the school buses out there being charged, being out on the road, picking up kids. He's looking to have that in about a 6-month time frame. So, they just started, they just rolled out, they made the announcement in March. I think hired him a month later in April. They received the school buses last month. And then he's telling me that basically by the end of the year, they're going to have everything ready to go for, the start of 2023 to have those school buses fully in operational mode. So he's going to be there with his utility, his bus dealer, his charging company, and they're going to be talking about the nuts and bolts, A to Z, so to speak, of what you need to do. Because I know that's a big sticking point for a lot of people, and there are a lot of lessons learned, especially in California in the early days. And I say the early days, it was only a few years ago. A lot of these districts, they get this grant money, and it's almost kind of like, putting the cart before the horse. You're putting the bus before the charging. The buses, especially before the supply chain issues, you could get the buses in a matter of a couple months. But what about the charging infrastructure? It can take up to a year, especially if you're heading into it and you're starting from scratch, essentially. So, a lot of folks learned the hard way. And, what I hear over and over again is, first and foremost, engage your utility. Tell them what you want to do. Get them on board. These utilities are super motivated right now to work with school districts. They just need to know that you're serious. Obviously we've had to have this $5 billion in federal money that's going to be available, $500 million as we speak right now that people are applying for. So, I'm certainly looking forward to that session among a lot of them that are planned for next month.
Yeah, Ryan, I think at this point, if you are not coming to STN Expo and Green Bus Summit, you must have it all figured out, because in my eyes, with the cost of fuel where it is, everybody needs to be looking at what green energy options are available to them. And I think we're getting a flood of emails right now of people that are really excited to compare manufacturers, to engage with infrastructure companies. We have so many new exhibitors at the show this year and sponsors that are going to be present displaying the newest technologies, that it really is going to give people a variety of providers to really determine who is the right partner for you and your district or your contractor. Who is that right person? And I think at this point, it really is an information discovery for many people, because as we've seen, it's pilot projects all over the place, onesie twosies. Some people have long-term goals, like on that Highland Electric Fleets webinar, Beverly, they had 2 buses with a long-term goal to get to 30 buses. But that's kind of like their wish list. Like, they want to get to 30, but there's kind of this pathway to get there. So I think that many districts are kind of in this area of trying to figure it out, but you got to future proof. When you're trenching, you got to put in enough conduit to be sure that, hey, if your plan is to have 30, you better have enough room in the ground to pull for 30. Maybe you don't put it all in right now, but you probably should do it, because you don't want to keep digging up your parking lot to try to support growth in the area of electrification. So there's a lot of forethought that really goes into it. And I know at STN EXPO Indianapolis, we had a fabulous discussion and panel there. And we had Alex Cook from First Student, and he was kind of giving us a look behind the curtain on some of the things First Student was doing. And one of the things that really caught my attention was the potential use of solar on the top of roofs of school buses. We really haven't seen that yet, but man, it has a ton of potential to
Oh, yeah.
where that could potentially go, Ryan.
Well, Bill, Paul, and I have been talking about this for literally 20 years. I mean, going back to when I first started here at STN in 2001, Bill, being the visionary he is, was talking about what better piece of real estate than the top of a 40-foot school bus or a 30-foot school bus for that matter, or even one of the type A's. You put a solar panel on that thing, these, especially, out here on the West Coast or in the Western states, go to Arizona what better way to harness the sun's energy for electricity than that? Now, there's a lot that from an infrastructure standpoint that's still being worked on, I think, but it's interesting to see that conversation come full circle. And I'm kind of getting this sense of deja vu when Alex was actually talking to me about that when we were planning for Indy, and he was talking about solar. And I immediately thought back to those early conversations I had with Bill, even heading out to Clark County School District. I visited probably about 10, 12 years ago, and they have solar arrays out there that the school buses park under. And at that time, they were using them just to charge the batteries, just the regular bus batteries on a diesel bus. So they wouldn't have to ever worry about losing power on those batteries. So, they're already set up. And I know Nevada right now, they're working on trying to get electrification going. They don't have any electric buses running right now, but I know Clark County, they're working on it. Washoe, our friends up in Reno, who are our wonderful hosts every year, they're working on it, along with Carson City. So, you just look at, again, the potential of this energy and of the other energies. It's going to take a village. That was something that keeps coming to mind from our visit out to ACT Expo, the Advanced Clean Transportation Expo out here in Long Beach in early May, where folks were talking, it's going to take a village of fuels and energy to get us to where we need to be. We're behind right now as a nation. We're behind about, 24 other countries worldwide on reducing greenhouse gas emissions and all the different pollutants. So certainly, we need to do something. It's going to take a lot of different technologies because, for all the promise that electric has, we have to realize that it's just not there yet for everybody. Maybe it will be in 20 years or so, especially with a lot of these, you look at what California and New York are doing to really advance that so that, requiring all new buses by 2035 and 2040 to be a zero emissions, 100% electric. That seems like it's a ways away, but as we know, that's going to go like that. Those dates are going to be upon us. So the seeds that are being planted right now are going to be tomorrow's fruit.
Yeah, I think, Ryan, the biggest takeaway from all this is, guys, you need to get in the game. Take the shot, apply for some of this federal money. It is a once in a lifetime opportunity for the school bus industry, and we cannot let us pass us by. Create that sam.gov account, apply for the lottery. You may not win in the first round or the second round, but you may get something in the third round, right? And all the OEMs, a lot of providers are just like, look, just throw your hat in. Let's try it. Let's see what's going to happen. You guys got to apply for this funding. We hear it constantly. School transportation never has the money. Well, here it is, the golden ticket, right? It's like Willy Wonka, right? Like we just literally got the golden ticket. We cannot make it a missed opportunity. You cannot. STN EXPO, Green Bus Summit, July 15th through the 20th. GBS is on July 17th. You guys can register. Go to stnexpo.com/west. You can also go to greenbussummit.com. That'll take you right to the Green Bus Summit page. You can still register online through June 24th.
That's this Friday. This Friday, folks. You got to hurry.
Yeah, right. Thanks, Ryan. It really is. Ryan and his team have got, a lot of energy, a lot of man hours, probably thousands of man hours into creating really meaningful content for you guys. We're here for you. We want to get this information in your hands. We want to be the source of information in school transportation. And we are the definitive source. And we are doing our best to help you guys achieve the goals that you need to get through. And there's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of headwinds. we'll all agree, staffing, school bus driver shortages, funding, fuel costs is just going bananas, right? I think we all can agree. These are all challenges. But what better place to kind of come together in Reno, Nevada this summer to have meaningful conversations with your peers, learn from each other. Don't make $1 million mistake and go with the wrong partner. Build out a really strategic plan that's very thoughtful and talk to stakeholders, talk to everybody, really get the lay of the land and bring that back to your administration. Show them that you've done your homework. It's so important, guys. I just cannot emphasize this enough. We are just so excited and elated to be able to bring this conference to you. I was talking to Alice Saavedra, who's our events manager, and she literally was like, Tony, we're probably going to have 900 to 1,000 people. That is attendees and vendor staff at the conference. That is massive. That is such a big conference for us, considering coming off of COVID. People are feeling a lot better. I think people are starting to put themselves back out there, but this is just, it's a stepping stone. We want to keep growing with you and bringing this great information. So that is my 10,000 foot kind of overview, Ryan. Any kind of words you want to share with the group about what you've created?
Again, a lot of green technology. We have a lot of security topics. That was another big thing in Indy, tragically coming on, right out of the Uvalde mass shooting, that horrible tragedy. We already had planned to doing some security sessions on de-escalation. Brett Brooks was there and talked about that, as well as kind of did a debrief. He's a Missouri Highway Patrol officer, former SWAT team member, tactical trainer. So he took the attendees through that a little bit. That was very interesting. In Reno, we're going to have more security. We're going to have Sally Jo Evers from the Washington Office of State Superintendent of Public Instruction. They have regions across the state. She's from the Northeast region up in Spokane. She's going to be talking about emergency response and operations. Certainly they had that fatal stabbing of a school bus driver last fall in Pasco, Washington, which is in the middle of the state. So that really, pushed the state to start looking again freshly at security training for school bus drivers. So she's going to be talking. We're going to have Katrina Morris, who's the executive director of the Michigan Association for Pupil Transportation. She's going to be taking folks through a special program that was passed into law actually a couple of years ago in Michigan for school bus driver security training and response. So that has been a program that's been up and running. It's actually a requirement of all new school bus drivers as well as supervisors. And they've actually been teaching that in other states. So she's going to be talking. Certainly, we have the Transportation Director Summit. We have technology. There's just an action-packed agenda. If you head over to stnexpo.com/west, click on attendees and go to agenda, you can catch everything that we're working on. But Tony, I think that, something that was really, when you were talking earlier, something that really stood out was I think we need to work seamlessly together. And speaking of which, Tony, have you heard about the TransFinda trifecta?
I haven't, Ryan. Can you tell me more?
Well, that's Route Finder Plus, Stop Finder, and Wayfinder. 3 solutions that work, you got it, seamlessly together. The package includes routing software, parent app, driver app, inventory management solution, location intelligence, and the most accurate maps on the planet. TransFinder built its solutions around what their clients need and want, and sometimes never even knew they wanted. They've got the all-in-one solution for school transportation departments. They get you, and they've got this. Email getplus@transfinder.com. That's getplus@transfinder.com, or call 800-373-3609 to see how TransFinder can help you.
Well, Ryan, I know everybody needs to save on fuel, so optimization is key. So make sure and give TransFinder a call, guys. Well, that's the episode. Want to thank Mr. Ryan Gray for joining me as we banter away here and talk everything school transportation. Thanks to TransFinder for being our sponsor. Appreciate them for supporting this podcast. Guys, STNonline.com, everything you need to know about the school transportation industry. We've got you covered. Latest news, information, newest magazines, June issue. If you haven't read it, go check it out. It's on the website. You can view it digitally. We got all the details. STN EXPO in Reno, July 15th through the 20th, Green Bus Summit, greenbussummit.com. And then also, if you kind of want to jump into a conference this fall, we have Transporting Students with Disabilities and Special Needs. That is November 8th through the 13th down in the Texas area, Dallas, Frisco. Great spot. If you have transportation and you're serving the special needs community, highly recommend participating there. tsdconference.com for all that information. Guys, share the podcast, get it out there, stnpodcast.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to pods. Tell your friends. Can't wait to see you soon at the STN Expo. Really excited to be there. So much to take in. Don't forget to apply for the grant funding. That is going to be August 15th. Deadline. Get that Clean School Bus Program funding. We really want you to apply, and we're here to help. So reach out anytime. Everything you need, stnonline.com. Guys, we love you. Take care. We'll see you next week.